Hello, we're going to take a look at some of the basic or fundamental aspects of the distributed network system project here. We see that we have a helpers package there, and inside of it we have the identifier, and basically what this is we're going to be able to return like a global ID from something. We'll use this later on. So we're going to have like a group ID for, say for instance, an intersection area, and a local ID would be like a kind of a unique ID for the object within that area. So say for instance you might have at a large scale you might have a region be a city and the local ID be a street name. And then the simple name there is that it would be identify the class type. So we're identifying that it's a street. In our situation, we're going to have links, sinks, and factories, that kind of stuff going on there. This is just a simple helper method here to get us our host name of our local machine. We'll use that probably within some of our identification routines for making things globally unique. Stopwatch is a simple little timer class here. And when we're looking at our networks too, we need to be able to render them. So this is the rendering interface. So rendering the graph would be like rendering of the street networks, and rendering the vehicles is of course rendering the vehicles and where they are. In this situation we have a text renderer. So we're implementing the render. We have concurrent access to these items because we have a threaded world that we use in some of our examples, so we happen to have that is shared even for the serial product. So it's pretty simple. It just goes through the different structures and writes out where these items are. You could potentially have a graphical renderer, and there's some aspects of the solution that we'll see in terms of saving coordinates that we don't use in the text render. Then we have our demo code. So like here for instance is our basic code. Basic being our basic world. This is a serial world. We're doing for a number of simulation runs. We're starting our world up, and our world, the world itself is run in a thread, but the whole thing is sync. Yeah. So there's our world type right there. Serial. So we have a number of simulated runs that we're doing there. And so we set up, we assign a text renderer. Actually, what we do is we inject the renderer into the world. We render the graph, render the basic vehicles, and then we do our simulation. We have it set up to announce an update if we want to do that. And basically all the work happens in the update routine in the world. That's, if you can imagine, kind of like in a functional type of sense where we have a static world in a sense from each update to each update. So it's a discrete kind of step there. So during the update is when we go and look at the sinks, the links, the factories, get the information from them, and we move everything and everybody. Oh yes. Yeah. So this one here, we're running a threaded world up here on this first part of this demo up here too. So, and one of the reasons it was done flip-flopping them back and forth a little bit too was to deal with caching on the machine, on the CPU, memory stuff, so that we wanted to give the threaded world the worst kind of environment. So in the time of testing between them, we found out that it had worse simulation runs when we threw it first, so that's what we did there. Alright, so that's kind of like the some of the helpers and the demo aspects of it. So in the next video, we'll be getting in and looking at some of the structure aspects of the network.